Good morning, everybody. This is Gavin Verhey from Wizards of the Coast, and this is something new I'm doing called Office Hours, where basically this is your time to just ask whatever questions you would like. I'll answer stuff. The closer it is to what I do, the more I can answer it. The further away it is, the harder it is for me to answer. I obviously can't give answers to everything, but hopefully I can give you a lot of answers about a lot of things. And I'll sit here. This is probably not going to be a super long one because there was a bit of a technical issue getting stuff ready this morning. But I'll be here for probably about a half hour or so. Maybe a tad longer. We'll kind of see how things go. And I'll just get through as many questions as I can. So just fire them off in the chat. And I'll just go through them in the order received, more or less. First question. Let's see. There's a couple people. Demented Kirby, the Maverick Girl, asking how MagicCon was. It was awesome. It was amazing. I think Vegas was our best MagicCon yet. I've been to all of them. And, obviously, like, it sounds very, like, biased. You'd be like, ooh, the newest one is the best one, whatever. But it really was, right? It was huge. It was the largest MagicCon of all time. But it didn't feel crowded, which I think is, like, the most wildest thing, right? There were tons of people there. There's also tons of space. If you wanted to play Magic, there were always tables for you. There were always side events firing. You could get in them if you wanted to. And there's just tons of stuff to do. I thought the panels were really well put together. I was on a couple of them, but I watched a bunch of other ones. Or at least from afar, because it was my craziest MagicCon of all time. Before the show, people like plan the show were like, "Hey, Gavin, just so you know, this will be your busiest MagicCon ever." And I was like, "Yeah. Like, I'm sure it will be, but MagicCon's always busy for me. I don't know how it could possibly get busier." And it was, right? A lot of days I was like scheduled from like 9 a.m. till 7 p.m. or so, and then had dinner or some kind of after event afterwards. So it was a packed show for me, super packed. But man, I had a great time. So highly recommend. I cannot wait for Atlanta. Some highlights from here. I was like Game Nights Live, of course, the Unknown event that I get to do. Both those are like two huge things for me. But just so much cool stuff going on. I did this awesome. I posted a picture online, but we did this awesome Chaos draft on stage with Ben Bateman, and he assembled basically one of every single pack in Magic the Gathering. All of them, like. He had everything from like unlimited or revised forward, including collector boosters, including all the really old packs. We chose randomly out of this treasure chest, and we could have literally opened a Black Lotus on stage, if the stars aligned. So pretty darn crazy. That was an awesome panel there. So that was pretty wild. Come to Atlanta. It's gonna be amazing. I will see all of you there. Okay, going on to the next question. Strikeform Sora asks, how did I meet Travis Gafford? Because I went to his Final Fantasy pre-release. How do we meet? Travis just loves Magic. We just met through Magic. We were at an event and connected a while ago through Magic, and now he's super into Magic, which I think is great. I love seeing like the esports space and the Magic space collide. We have a lot of fun hanging out together. And we're literally just texting last night. Actually, he's going to be in Seattle, not too long, so we'll try and hang out then, play some games. I love how Magic collects people, or connects, rather, people. CC asks, hey, Gavin, my favorite Magic character is Urza. All right, I'll finally get off Broodmate Dragon here. And let's look at Urza. How much of character lore goes into designing cards and abilities? A lot. When you're making a character that is a known quantity, you look at their whole story, try and figure out what they're supposed to do. So tons and tons of work goes into it. So in the case of Urza, we wanted to embody a lot of different things here. So the fun facts about Urza. The 5 mana ability, here's a little callback. This is from a card called Temporal Aperture. I don't know how many of you guys know about this card, but this is a card from Urza's Saga. Very famous. This was played in tournaments back in the day. 5 mana, shuffle your top card. You can play it for free this turn, which is exactly what Urza's third ability is. So that's a little nod to Urza's Saga. Of course, Urza loves artifacts. He created Karn. So just lots of creative goes into these characters. So every character we make, we like look at their whole story and try and figure out exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Vivi. Okay, Paul Diallo has a question about basically with Vivi, shouldn't have to remove counters for the mana. What's kind of the story behind this card? Let's see if I can find it or not. Boop. Here we are. Here's Vivi, which is this is a card that got played at the Pro Tour a bunch last weekend. It's been making waves in Commander. I think part of the fun of a card like Vivi is that it does have the potential to do something crazy and inspires you to like make your eyes go wide and be like, oh man, what the heck is going on here? Let me, I can kind of tell you the evolution of this card a little bit, how it got to this stage. So, it basically always had the non-creature spell counter and 1 damage ability. That was there since the beginning. It just made it we loved it for Vivi, right? It was like it's like the black mage thing. Plus, it's curious and he's growing bigger, right? But the first version of Vivi had a quite different ability. It was tap, add mana equal to Vivi's power. Activate this ability, or you can only cast 1 more spell this turn. That was the ability. So it started off as a tap ability. You only cast 1 more spell. I tried that for a little bit. It was not that like appealing or interesting. It also ran into some digital issues where like if you and I think also just real life issues where if you announce your spell and then you tap Vivi for mana, you could still cast another spell after that one, which is very unintuitive. So we went away from that. And then I tried as it fixes the digital issues if you try it as target player. So I tried as target player, but that read weird. Why are you targeting players with the ability? And it was the ability was still not like Omega loved or whatever. And then we're like, okay, what if we just added mana at a specific time? And we debated timing for a while and we decided, let's try beginning of combat, and the mana like floats in your pool. So, the kind of thing where it like stays in your pool for the whole turn. And we tried at beginning of combat, but the timing was really weird because you like often you want to cast your spells post-combat, you want to cast a combat trick inside of combat, or maybe you want to do something pre-combat with the mana. So that wasn't really the right timing. So we're like, okay, what if you could just do it whenever you wanted and just like you choose when the time window was on your turn? And that's where the 0 kind of came from, which is a very unique thing, but for a mythic rare, they get to do unique stuff. And this card is like a really exciting Magic card. It lets you do a lot of powerful stuff. Gives you a big dream to go after. Time will tell, if it is too strong, if it should have been like slightly weaker or something. But I think that if you try and just play it safe all the time, do exactly the obvious thing of like a tap ability or a of removing counters or whatever, that's not how you like push the envelope and get people to be like, wow, this card is super exciting. And I think this card is one of the most exciting cards in the set for a lot of people. So like I said, we'll see how it turns out. But I'm not really that worried about it for constructed, just because I think it's very strong in the right decks for sure. But the blue-red prowess decks to me have a lot of other things going on that were more problematic besides Vivi, right? Like Corey Steelcutter and tons of other stuff. So we'll see what happens over time. Maybe there'll be some Agatha Soul Calder deck that totally breaks out, or we'll crack CDH or whatever. But I think you have to push a little bit with cards like this. Anyway, that's the story of Vivi and how we got to the text that's on the card right now. Let's see. That was a long question there. Have we made a mono green legend equipment yet? Maybe. Not none printed so far to reveal encounters, but stay tuned. Elk801 asks, is there a chance we ever get wastes in the style of 8th edition white bordered basics? So I don't know, I'll pull one up for example. Here's this guy. I think didn't we do this in, I'm curious what you mean by 8th edition white border, because we did this, right? You're still looking for like the not full art frames. Here's white border, boom, we got you the white border wastes in Mystery Booster. If you want the small art one, why do you want the small art? What's up with that? Anyway, I guess we could someday. Tessinger asks, will we have a MagicCon Europe next year? Yes, we will. We just announced this. MagicCon Amsterdam is coming next year. So get ready. Come to Amsterdam. It's going to be great. Amsterdam was a blast last year for MagicCon, and we're going to be back there next year. I'll look up the exact dates. It is happening in... Or maybe someone in the chat can get there faster than I can. MagicCon Amsterdam is July 17th through 19th, 2026. So come on down, come on back to Amsterdam. It's going to be a good time. Silver border cards in Commander. Demented Kirby asks about this. Yeah, there's this thing called the Black Border Project, or Silver Border Project rather, that the Commander Format panel is kind of inherited from the Rules Committee. On the table is a thing to work on. Nothing to announce at this time, but I know some folks are interested in that. Let's see. Hey You Dummy asks about Alchemy Free Brawl. I don't, it sounds interesting. I don't work on Arena, so it's hard for me to know, like, what the story is there, if or when that could happen. I do love seeing all the Brawl play on Arena, though. That's awesome. Let's see. Runewise asks about my maroon suit, which is more of like a red suit than a maroon suit, but I digress. Is it a mainstay for special occasions only? Well, I'd say that my red suit is very much a mainstay at this point. I mean, if you Google me, if you literally look at the profile picture on my Twitch account, I'm wearing this red suit. I have 3 different ones that are all basically the same color, and I'm known for wearing red. It's just become a thing, I guess. It also conveniently makes me easy to find at MagicCon. So if you're looking for me, I am very easy to find, which is kind of nice. Let's see here. Sky Tonic asks, would it be safe to reprint Berserk into Modern? Modern is very powerful these days. So I'll pull up Berserk here. Modern is very powerful these days. Maybe you could reprint Berserk into Modern. I don't know that it has like the best incentives, right? Like, incentives with Berserk is to one hit kill somebody in a single turn with this card, which is not the most fun gameplay. It's not something I think we love promoting. So like, I don't know. I don't think it's like super likely we would want to put Berserk in. Maybe I'm not saying we couldn't, but you know, the gameplay with Berserk is like, all right, play a creature with high power, play 2 Berserks or whatever, and your opponent's dead. I just don't think like that's the most fun thing to incentivize, even though it's got good memories associated with it. DMG LOL, it's great meeting you too. Thanks. I'm happy to sign your Chocobo. Hey Nate Dog, good morning. Hopefully you found yourself way back from Vegas just fine. All right, like the way the 8th edition basics look. Noted Elk. Maybe in a future weird set like a mystery booster or who the heck knows what, we'll figure it out. HW Storyteller MTG asks that the command zone, I assume this was at Vegas, said there was the only person all weekend to ask for bracket 1 play. How to expand or encourage bracket 1 play? That's a great question. So bracket 1 is like exhibition. Bracket is like the meme tier, or like you're playing like your silly theme deck. I think we need to see more people playing with these decks, and we need to have people try it out and encourage others to try it out. It's funny, I was just talking with Chris Mooney, who's a big bracket 1 proponent internally at Wizards yesterday, about if we should do a bracket 1 event isn't the right word, but like gathering at MagicCon to be like, hey, everyone get bracket 1 decks together, come out to Atlanta and play. So maybe we should encourage that kind of thing a little bit more, because that is like the core of what a lot of people, I think, what many people would love to try in Commander. It's like a weird game where everyone's playing their like cool theme decks. You get to tell a story as you play. So maybe we'll end up doing that. But I mean, I have seen a number of bracket 1 games be played. People are playing these goofy decks, but it is true. It's just always not as it's not been as popular as some of the other stuff. I would like for it to be. I'd like to encourage people to build these kinds of decks and play them, which is why I wanted to give this bracket more time to get off the ground. We talked about this in the last kind of check-in we did, where we want to give bracket 1 exhibition more time. So let's give it more time and see what happens. See what happens a little bit. It looks like you're very excited in the chat about this HW Storyteller, so I'll let Chris Mooney know, and maybe they can kind of take charge in organizing it. My schedules at MagicCons are so bananas. People always ask me, like, ooh, tell me about the games of Magic you played at MagicCon. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I do not get to play games of Magic at MagicCon. At MagicCon Vegas, I played 0 games of Magic. At MagicCon Chicago, I played 0 games of Magic. Unless you count, I guess at Vegas I did play at the Edge of Eternity's party. Someone brought their Kobold Dan. They're like mono-red Kobold Dan. I played a game of that. That was a cool game of Magic. But I seldom actually get to play Magic at these things. I'm just running around to do signings and panels and all that kind of stuff. But I would love to hear about this event. I'd love to help promote it. So let me talk with Chris. I'll see what we can do. Maybe we'll get that thing rolling for you all. I don't know how many. I'm curious out there in the chat, I guess, what bracket a lot of folks out there are playing at. You can let me know in the chat if there's like a bracket that you tend to play at. I'm gonna guess there's a lot of 2s and 3s and 4s. We kind of knew that 2 and 3 and 4 would be the most played bracket of the bunch, and then 1s and 5s would be for the CDH grinders, and then 1 would be for folks that want that kind of experience. So we'll see what happens as we continue to revise the brackets, but I don't want to just count 1 players. Demented Kirby says they're mostly 2 and 3. That sounds about right. I think we'd use a little more differentiation between 2 and 3 as well, so it's a thing that we're talking about and working on. Oh, you only build bracket 1, HW Storyteller. I appreciate that. Nate, I know you say you don't have time to play MagicCon because you're judging. Thank you for all your hard work judging. That is so meaningful. You do a great job, not only judging, but answering everyone's rules questions on the internet all the time. Okay, Casey Jean asks, I'm new to Magic, and I love Loot, and he would love to hear his backstory, and to slip him into every set. Loot, a very controversial character. And I'm curious in the chat, do you love Loot or hate Loot? Post in the comments below. I know some people are like anti-Loot, some people are pro-Loot. I'm a Loot lover, personally. I'll put Loot up on the screen here. Boop, here's the little guy. He's got a few different versions. I'll just put this one up here. This is the score. Look at that. Lord Ironforge, anti-Loot, Pasta Getty, Loot Believer. So if you want the backstory behind, like the in-world backstory behind Loot as a character, you can go read a bunch of the recent stories for Magic, where they meet Loot in Outlaws of Thunder Junction. So I'm not going to recap the Magic story of him, but in terms of like the story of Loot as a character, we knew we wanted kind of like a cute-ish character that was a new thing we could put in Magic and would be a part of the Magic story. And so we made someone up. We were like, well, let's make this person and put him in this set. And so that's where the idea for Loot came from. Now, Loot has a lot of mysterious stuff going on with him. I'm not going to give it all away right here. But he definitely evolves through things. So, of course, this is like the Mono Green Foundations version. But we've got a lot of different stuff. We've got this Pathfinder version, which is blue, green, red, where he's kind of picking up some of the stuff of the plane. There's this other blue, green, red version from the big score. So we want a character that could evolve. And you'll be seeing more of Loot in the future as well. He's hiding out in that vault. I wonder why. Strike44 asks, I know if you're a rat, he knows me, or they, know me for my rat and coin flip deck. Is there another deck that's missing as part of my Gavin iconography? Well, I have a few decks that I'm known for. I was actually just looking over at my deck boxes. I was like, should I open this up? Decks that I like playing, I love my Carter deck. I love my War Doctor deck, which is on an episode of Shuffle Up and Play. And I most recently I built this deck that is all. Do I just have it right here? Can I just grab it and pull it out? Hold on a second. I think I have it right here. It's gonna take too much hassle to pull out. It's like underneath a bunch of boxes, and I don't want to like spend 5 minutes trawling through boxes for all of you. But I built a deck recently that is all cards I designed, which is, I think, very funny to have the all Gavin deck. So that's one of the decks right now that I've been enjoying playing. And if you play against me, it's besides basic lands. Basic lands I did not design, but every other card, including the non-basic lands, are cards I made, which is funny because every time a new set comes out, I'm like, oh, what can I put in this? Final Fantasy gave it a big boost, so that's pretty fun. Lord of Ironforge. What do you think about on the draw effects? These are, I think there's like, what's that card? The Crossroads, maybe? Is this one of them? Right. Yeah. I think these kind of on the draw effects are pretty cool and interesting. I think this is an interesting design space. I've been interested in trying this design space before. Actually, originally there's a cycle. Here's a fun fact for all of you. There's a cycle in Midnight Hunt. What were they called? I don't remember the name of. I don't know that they have like a through line. I'll pull it up. This is Mythic Cycle in Midnight Hunt. These guys. This was actually, before this was redesigned into these guys, that there's 5 of them, they like kind of pick a card type and key off of that card type. These were all originally a cycle that cared about you being on the draw. The challenge is that it can be very swingy for tournament play. So, it's a narrow edge, right? Going play is better, but wow, if you have cards that are like really strong on the play, or really strong on the draw and really weak on the play, it like creates some very strange incentives of what you want to do, especially if you want to main deck those cards or not. So maybe we'll do it someday. I think it's only a matter of time till we do it, frankly, because it's just untapped design space, but we don't want to do it a ton. I think I did it on this turtle. So I have this guy somewhere. I don't remember the name, but I did it on a turtle and Mystery Booster too, as well. Let's see, talking about loot. Did we consider to do Magic 1 day longer? 4 days? Whew, man, 3 days is already a crazy amount of days for MagicCon. It's so much stuff to do. Maybe someday we'll get to 4 days, but I'd rather do like 3 awesome days than try and expand to a 4th day and not have enough content to fill it. Also, just getting on Thursday is harder for a lot of people, so, this thing. Lots of talking about loot fans, loot haters, etc. Rogue of Oz. Earlier in the stream, I talked about Vivi already a little bit. Is he in consideration to be banned in Commander? Well, I don't think yet. I think it would be, first of all, we would move to a game changer before we did anything. But like any new card, let's give it time to percolate out. Everyone's talking about the new card, playing the new card. Let's give it some time for people to play it and explore it and see how it turns out. And then we can talk more about things like where it will end up. Game changer is the first step these days, right? So before you go on the ban list, you would be added to the game changer list. Could Vivi be a game changer? I think it's absolutely on the table to be a game changer. I think it really creates a certain kind of gameplay that not everyone wants to be in there for. Especially it just takes a bunch of time, which is the most notable thing, I think. So yeah, potentially a game changer candidate, but certainly not something we're talking, would not talk about banning before putting on the Game Changer list, if anywhere. Nate Dogg, will we be getting a video with all the unknown cards made for Vegas? Yes. I know I'm still due for my Chicago video. That one was delayed due to some random circumstances I won't get into. But there will be a video that covers the Chicago playtest cards that are missing and the Vegas playtest cards that are missing. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for that. The deck list on the All Gavin deck. Yeah, you'll see that one at some point. I actually have an upcoming episode of a gameplay show. I won't spoil which, but upcoming episode of a gameplay show where I play the All Gavin deck. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for that. Rogue of Oz. Can I tell you a funny story about a favorite card that I have designed? Well, pick my favorite card. You know, it depends from day to day, but I'll just pick one for the moment, which is this card. This is I tell stories all the time about Teferi's Protection and you know, Najila and all this stuff, but I'll tell one that's a little more off the beaten path. This is one of the early cards I designed. The first set I worked on was Return to Ravnica, and Gatecrash was the second set I worked on. And I made Obzedat, Ghost Council, a card that I've always enjoyed. So we were trying to figure out a new design for the Ghost Council, and I loved the original Ghost Council, which, if you don't know it, is this. It's not a very good commander. It's this card. This was a constructed card back in the day. You played this in like these white-black decks. It doesn't look very strong these days, but man, it was so sweet back in the day. There's a deck called Ghost Dad that I always loved. Anyway, neither here nor there. So I was, they were like, hey, we need to make a new Ghost Council, and can you come up with some ideas for it? And I was at home, and I was working, and I was typing out some stuff, and I typed out this game text, and I was like, that's ridiculous. It's like way too strong. We would never make this card, and I deleted it. But then I thought for a few more seconds, and I was like, you know what? What the heck? It doesn't hurt to put it on a card. If they don't like it, they just won't put it in, right? So I Control-Z'd, and I put this exact text. I pitched almost this exact text anyway, and I sent it in the next day. And out of all the Ghost Councils I made, this is the one that they liked the most. The team liked the most. Dave Humphreys was the lead, and he put it into the set, which is a good lesson to me of like, don't discount your designs before someone else takes a look at them, because maybe they will be reasonable, maybe they will be okay. And you know, I'm so glad I did that, because a lot of players grew to love this card. It ended up, you know, being in the top 8s of Pro Tours, things like that. And yeah, it brings warm feelings. Not the strongest commander, but just a cool card that I worked on and almost didn't exist. It was a Control-Z away from being a totally different Magic card. So funny story, right? Let's see. Oh, a companion that can only be a companion if your deck contains non-land cards designed by me. That's funny. It would work because I would design that card. Endless Whispers reprint win? Probably. I mean, this is a card that's kind of up to no good. You know, it's like you just give them your stuff. So, you know, kill them with Phage or Leveler or whatever. Maybe it'll get reprinted someday. Not saying never. It could be a funny Mystery Booster Secret Lair card or something. But I don't think people are exactly clamoring for Endless Whispers. And like I said, it's mostly up to nonsense. And not always the most fun way. You give your opponent unfun stuff. One commander deck I've tried to make work for a long time, and we just always kill because it's not very fun. So we'll probably not make it, at least for a while, is like a Mardu give your opponent stuff deck, give your opponent bad stuff. So like Zedru for different colors, and I can imagine Endless Whispers being a reprint in that deck if we someday do it. Let's see. Those of us that the Doctor Who wiki have a question about how to interpret the player as Planeswalker framing device in the Universes Beyond. I don't really know what. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to answer that question. I don't really know how to answer. Oh, are you just asking basically like in the Universe Beyond, what are you as a player? Are you a Planeswalker? Well, the metaphor breaks down a little bit because there are no Planeswalkers in these Universe Beyond worlds. You can think about it in a different thing depending on the world, right? In Doctor Who, maybe you are a companion traveling with the Doctor. In Final Fantasy, maybe you're part of the adventuring party. I think you have to reframe it as like whatever the in-world analog is there. So that's the thought. Arzu's like FF7 and FF14 got a lot of representation in Final Fantasy. They're very popular games, so we want to make sure they were represented. You know, if I could do Final Fantasy over again, would I maybe tweak a few of the cards? Yeah, I would have certainly tweaked some of the cards and which games they came from. But overall, I'm really happy with how the set turned out. Master Warcraft is one of my favorite cards. This is a nice throwback from the original Ravnica block. Put it up on the screen here in case you don't know it. Lets you choose how people are attacking. Could you see an updated version that includes controlling who gets attacked? Yeah, maybe. That sounds cool. I like this kind of stuff. You're right that we would often goad in this case, but I think this kind of design is fun and interesting, so I could totally imagine doing more like it here. Let's see. Play design takes care of dual lands and standard. Do they also work on the Universe Beyond ones and potentially? Yep, for sure. If there are Universe Beyond sets that want dual lands, play design will figure them out. They've looked ahead at all of the upcoming sets to figure out which sets will get dual lands, which ones will get monocolored rare land cycle or no rare land cycle. So we worked on that together. We mapped it all out. We mapped out the dual land cycles for a while. So even though we work on them for longer, dual lands are a thing you can kind of figure out way in advance, right? You can be like, okay, we're doing these kinds of sets here. We're doing whatever gold set here. We want to do these dual lands here or what have you. So we know kind of what the plan is for dual lands going forward. Okay. The Josh Quest asks for welcome back into Magic. It started playing with the Doctor Who Secret Lair, or got back in with it. What are the design insights on the Regeneration Secret Lair? Given those were cards of characters that not appeared on screens as you're working on them. So I'll pull one up here. One of my favorites, the 14th Doctor. Okay, so when I was working with this on the set on the BBC, they of course gave us some advanced information. So I knew some of what was going to happen in the specials and with the new Doctors before it was actually out. So with the 14th Doctor, I had kind of some information and a hunch of this is going to have to do with a bunch of previous Doctors and kind of a recap Doctor in many ways. Plus, I wanted a card that was like your Doctor Who commander. So that's where this came from. So that's kind of a top-down design from just wanting hey, put all the Doctors in one deck commander. It was actually pretty funny. I designed all the cards in the Secret Lair, and then I would run them by the folks at the BBC, being like, hey, let me translate this from Magicese into English for you. Does this seem like it fits the character? And it would kind of be like hot or cold on it. With the 15th Doctor, I was like, I didn't have a lot of information on him. And I don't even know that the episodes were like fully written. So I was like, all right, what are the things that I know will be true about the 15th Doctor? They will have a sonic screwdriver, and they will have a TARDIS. And so, of course, screwdriver costs 3, TARDIS costs 2. So this played in there. With Rose as well. Rose was like, well, what's the thing I know can be true about this character? Well, she will probably be around the Doctor, and drawing cards is nice and generic. So, you can always save some of those more generic designs for the ones you know a little less about. So that's just the story there. But, I had enough story information to work on, like the Meep, for example. They told us a decent amount about the Meep. So I was like, oh, this guy would be someone that sacrifices stuff. And, of course, we got, art reference and some quotes from the episode for flavor text and all that kind of stuff. So that was kind of cool. Would you consider designing around emptying the opponent's graveyard? Yeah, I guess we could do that. It's like pretty hard to pull off. It's more in your opponent's control than your control, so it doesn't make for a great build around, but maybe on a commander or something. Mahar, we could do that. Ways of aggression. Could white do this? I think the answer is probably no. Not in this exact way. We also make sure our colors are differentiated, so I don't think white would really do this these days. Maybe with some different text. But yeah. Yes, there's a question about. Okay, no, I already answered this about Naja Fan. There we go. A question about card types. Do you intend for humans to be humans and not just humanoid aliens? No, in Doctor Who, humans are humans, not humanoid aliens. A good example of this is on Sisterhood of Karn. So we left species type off this, right? Because it looks like a human, but it is not a human. It's from the planet Gallifrey. So this is just a cleric. So if it has human on the type line, the BBC approved it as being human. I think the most debated one was Adric, maybe. Yeah, this was debated because technically Adric is like from it's a whole situation. But yeah, these are they were all things that were run by them, and humans were actually humans. Let's see. Let's see. After Duskmorn, Balloon Men and Attraction Unsanctioned. Do you want to visit a Psycho Circus-centric world? I don't know. Would you all want to see that? I guess we could someday. I feel like Duskmorn kind of is the circus world that's going crazy, because you get to do all that stuff without making the whole world about it. I don't know if there's enough for a whole world there. Theme park world or whatever. Crazy theme park world. Let's see. FF is great. Yes, I agree. I'm biased, but so true. Is there a difference? Yeah, Adric I know there was a lot of discussion about, but it was ultimately deemed that it was okay to give it the human type. So there you go. Let's see. Right, is there a difference in designing a Universe Beyond as opposed to a Universes Within set? Yes. We have to do a lot of different things. Not only are we working with the partner to make sure that we're like doing all the things they need to do, and they review all the artwork and so on. But also, you can kind of know a lot of the concepts you're going to do in advance, right? When you're making a Magic set, let's say we're talking about, I don't know, Bloomborough or something. A lot of that is going to be very mechanical focused, right? We know what the themes are going to be or what have you, but it's mechanical focused, and we start from kind of the ground up with figuring out mechanics, and cards are just like, oh, this is going to be a lightning bolt style card or whatever. With Universes Beyond, like, before you even put a card in the set, you know what a lot of the characters are going to be. Like, we start by making a pyramid of, here's all the big story moments, all the big characters, all the stuff we want to do. And so before you've even made a card, you've identified, like, probably hundreds of things you want to put in the set. You can then make top-down designs, too. So just the very building blocks of what you do in Universe Beyond is totally different than a normal Magic set. So you start in very different ways and create something in a bit of a different fashion than you would otherwise. And there's many other things that go into it that are different, but that's just one of them. Is you start with all these concepts. Well, about a half hour is about what I was going to do, so I'll take a few more questions here. So we have one more fired off in chat now, then I'll kind of wrap up for the day. Vanilla Fish, you're going to try the new 4-player draft format. I'm glad. Give it a try. We've really enjoyed it. It's a great way to do a quick draft with 4 people. We kind of found a lot of people were getting together in 4s for Commander or whatever, so this is a great way to kind of just draft with only 4 folks. Give it a try. Adric isn't human. That was our discussion. Yeah. I remember there being a lot of discussion around that. Ultimately, it was like the human type was deemed okay. I don't remember all the details. Maybe you could consider it an error. I'm not sure. But in general, we tried to keep human off of people that were not actually human. It was quite a big debate. We talked about the type humanoid for a while, but it was just baffling. It was like, first of all, not very exciting to read. Second of all, it doesn't count for Humans Matter cards. All that stuff. Should we expect future UB sets to have the same amount of legendaries as Final Fantasy? I mean, UB's going to want a lot of legendary stuff. You just want to get all these characters in. So you can expect plenty of legendaries. Lord of the Rings had a lot of legendaries. Final Fantasy had a lot of legendaries. You can expect Universes Beyond to have a lot of legendaries in general. Oliver Waugh, can you see a token creating mechanics like Conjure appear in a regular set? Yeah, I've done this a bunch on test cards, like Domesticated Mammoth, stuff like this. Maybe someday you have to have a reminder text on what the card is. I think we could do some of this. I enjoy this kind of thing personally, if they're iconic enough cards. So yeah, maybe someday. Jan CZZ, do you have a favorite Final Fantasy card? I have a lot of favorites. It's hard to choose between your kids, but one of my favorites is how Terra turned out. I put a lot of time and energy into this card, and I'm really happy with how this one turned out. It turns into Terra. You get to copy enchantments. You get to put lore counters on them, which is kind of unique. Big fan of this. So let's see. Well, also I'll say, Nahavan, thank you for managing the Doctor Who wiki. As someone who checked it out a lot, because when I was working on the set, it was a huge source of help for us. So thank you for your hard work on it. And I'll take the kind of Miss Lizard's question: why are some main characters not in the Final Fantasy set? Because there's only so much room, right? So think about a Magic set. There's only so many room for characters. Let's say your Magic set is 300 cards. 310 cards, it's a Final Fantasy. Well, you need to have spells and common creatures, which don't want to be legendary, and artifacts and lands and all this stuff. So you only have so many spots for legendary creatures, and most of the uncommons and rares in the set that are creatures are legendary. And then you look at the fact you want to boil 16 games down, you only have so many creature slots, and you very quickly begin to run out of room. So, would have loved to include everybody. There's a lot of characters that were on the cutting room floor that were painful, but you just couldn't get everybody from every game in there, unfortunately. And I had designs for a lot of things that got cut, like Ico is one of my faves, personally for Final Fantasy IX, but alas, it did not quite make it in. So sorry if your favorite character didn't make it. Try to get in a lot there for everybody. Anyway, that's kind of me answering a bunch of questions. Thank you for all your questions today. And now it's time to stop talking about Magic and go make magic. So I'll talk with you all again soon, and hope you have fun out there playing and enjoying the Final Fantasy set. I know that I certainly have. So